Hello there. Welcome to March 24th. Wow, we are rolling right along. We've just got 2 more weeks of our immersion. Seems like we just started yesterday. So today's topic is touch and attention. I was reading in one of Lauren Roche's commentaries, the translator of the Radiant Sutras, that attention in the tantric tradition that he translated, that attention is considered a sacred act. And I was thinking about the power of that. Wow. And what if we considered everywhere we put our attention to be a sacred act? That is really remarkable, the influence it could have on us. But with that, I also wanted to focus on something that sometimes goes along with attention, and that is touch. So I'm going to read a number of different passages to you to set the preface for this reflection. In the call of Jeremiah, we hear, "The word of the Lord came to me, saying, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations." Jeremiah says that he feels too young to answer the call that is being put before him. But then the Lord reaches out and he touches his mouth. And he says, "I have put my words in your mouth." So with attention, the ineffable one reaches out and touches Jeremiah's lips. And then in another passage in the Hebrew text, we have Jacob. And Jacob, I'll bypass the long story, but at one point, Jacob wrestles in the desert with God. And they're wrestling, and actually, no one's winning. But finally, God, in the form of an angel or man, we're not sure, in order to overpower Jacob, they say that this God touches Jacob's hip, causing Jacob to limp for the rest of his life. So he touches him. He was touched. It was a divine touch that was a wound. And then I've got a slew of little touches that are attributed to Jesus. All right. In Matthew chapter 9, Jesus touches their eyes and says, "It shall be done to you according to your faith." And their eyes were opened. And in Matthew 20, moved with compassion, Jesus touches their eyes. And in Mark chapter 7, Jesus took him aside from the crowd, put his finger in his ears, touched his tongue, and the man could hear and speak. And then Mark 8, a blind man was brought to Jesus, implored to touch him. Taking the blind man by the hand, he brought him out of the village, and he lays hands on him. Luke 22, when Jesus is in the Garden of Gethsemane, he touches the ear that had just been cut off of a soldier and heals him. And then Matthew 9, "My daughter just died. Lay your hand on her and she will live." And Jesus touched them. And then what I want to refer to in greater length is a moment of touch as well. And then we'll move into our reflection. So in Luke chapter 8, there was a man named Jairus, and he fell at Jesus's feet and implored him to come to his house. This is the other version of, he had a daughter, 12 years old, and she was dying. As Jesus was leaving town with him, a woman with a hemorrhage for 12 years, who had not been able to be healed by anyone, came up from behind and touched the fringe of his cloak, and her hemorrhage stopped. And Jesus realized that power went out from him, and he stopped. He said, "Who touched me?" And of course, his disciples or Peter is saying, "Well, Master, like everyone's touching you." But Jesus understood the attention, the openness, and the faith that went with the touch. So I wanted to allow this framework to open up an exploration on the words touch and attention for us. When we think about our attention touching ourselves or touching someone, does it feel tactile to us? You know, in Lauren's commentaries on part of the Radiant Sutras, he said that a transmission is considered to be an electrical realization, that it's a touch, that a transmission from a word that's inspired touches us with like an electric shock and wakes us up like, aha, it's dramatic, it touches us. That is why so often in many of the ancient traditions, breath is considered such an important vehicle to awaken us to the touch of the divine. What would it be like if we entered into touch in this level of intimacy, like Jesus did, right? Because everywhere he was going, could he have just looked with a gaze and that person had been healed? Probably, right? Because prayers heal just as much as touching someone. But there was something incredibly powerful about that tactile experience of somebody being touched, the eye being touched in compassion. And do we allow all the parts of ourselves to be touched by ourselves or to be touched by the divine? Do we allow it? Let's take a minute and reflect on that. We can enter into the intimacy that Jesus models for us, even in the places we don't want to be touched. So those places that feel so vulnerable to us to not be touched, we can even touch what doesn't want to be touched, not by force, but by coming close and recognizing that it doesn't want to be touched. And one way that we can do this is by allowing our breath to awaken our senses to this touch. As we grow more and more intimate with ourselves, we become more and more skillful with our touch, so that our touch is one that holds a space that is both sublime and immediate at the same time. Sublime in that it's spacious and universal. It's like the unconditional compassion that we long for as human beings when we're held space in whatever we are, however we show up. But it also comes very intimate, that however we're showing up is the place where we can be intimately close as well. See, we hold the transcendent and the immanent at the same time with our attention. That's remarkable. And I'm going to draw upon one of the sutras with this to set the stage for our meditation today. It is number 1 in the Yukti verses. And so it's actually verse 24 and 25. And I'm going to read these verses because this draws us close to what we're talking about here. The one who is intimate to all beings replies, "Beloved, your questions require the answers that come through direct living experience. The way of experience begins with a breath, such as a breath you are breathing now, awakening into luminous reality, may dawn in the momentary throb between any two breaths." Exhaling, breath is released and flows out. There is a pulse as it turns to flow in. In that turn, you are empty. Enter that emptiness as the source of all life. Inhaling, breath flows in, filling, nourishing. Just as it turns to flow out, there is a flash of pure joy. Life is renewed. Radiant One, the life essence carries on its play through the pulsing rhythm of outward and inward movement. This is the ceaseless throb, the rhythm of life, terrifying in its eternity, exquisite in its constancy. The inhalation, the return movement of breath, sustains life. The outgoing breath purifies life. These are the two poles between which respiration goes on unceasingly. Between them is every delight you could desire. Even when the senses are turned outward, your attention on the external world, attend also to the inner throb, the pulsing of the creative impulse within you. So what we're talking about here is an exchange. And that last passage of Jesus, I think, shows probably one of the most exquisite exchanges of touch and attention in all the other examples, among all the examples we have. Because in most of the examples, we've got the person in need and Jesus what goes forward and touches. And the person receives, so that's exquisite. But it's rare in the relationships that we've got accounted with Jesus that we've got a person so clean and so clear and so attentive that when they touch Jesus, they evoke the touch. That kind of attention is sacred. And that's what we're going to do today with our breath as an invitation to an attentiveness as a sacred act. Attention as a sacred act. Attention as the place of true touch. And what we're going to do is we're going to do bumblebee breath. So it's super simple. And please excuse me with my cold if at any moment I'm not able to keep the pace of it, but keep on yourself because you're going to breathe in through your nose and you're going to exhale with a humming sound. And it's simply going to sound like this. And you're going to let your attention sink into the humming or the vibrating of the lips. We're going to let the attention. Now there are going to be certain cues I'm going to give you to stop after the inhale and to hold. And there are going to be certain cues I give you to stop after the exhale and hold. But these you'll be guided with my words. So, and during the text, I will read Sutra 24 one more time during the time that we're doing the bumblebee breath. So with this, I invite you to open yourself up to this sacred act of attention with you and with you as source. I invite you to close your eyes. And with the eyes closed, just begin to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. Ah. Ah. Draw close to the breath with your attention. Um, um, ah. 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 And after the next exhale, breathe out completely. Ah. And hold the breath. Tense the muscles at the base of the spine. Then hold the breath. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And release. And inhale again through the nose. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. And after the next exhale, we begin the bumblebee breath. Inhale. Go at your own pace. And relax. Breathe at your own pace. Let the words of the sutra fall upon you. The one who is intimate to all beings replies, "Beloved, your questions require the answers that come through direct living experience. The way of experience begins with a breath, such as the breath you are breathing now. Awakening into luminous reality may dawn in the momentary throb between any two breaths. Exhaling, breath is released and flows out. There is a pulse as it turns to flow in. In that turn, you are empty. Enter that emptiness as the source of all life. Inhaling, breath flows in, filling, nourishing. Just as it turns to flow out, there is a flash of pure joy. Life is renewed. Once again, bring your attention to the breath. Ah. Ah. And after the next exhale, hold the breath. Exhale completely. Tense the muscles at the base of the spine and hold. and release. And inhale through the nose and hold. And release. And inhale and exhale. We start again, another round of bumblebee. Inhaling and begin. One more. And breathe normally. And let the words of the sutra fall upon you in a new way. The one who is intimate to all beings replies, "Beloved, your questions require the answers that come through direct living experience. The way of experience begins with a breath, such as the breath you are breathing now. Awakening into luminous reality may dawn in the momentary throb between any two breaths. Exhaling, breath is released and flows out. There is a pulse as it turns to flow in. In that turn, you are empty. Enter that emptiness as the source of all life. Inhaling, breath flows in, filling, nourishing. Just as it turns to flow out, there is a flash of pure joy. Life is renewed. Attention upon the breath. Ah. Um, And after the next exhale, breathe out completely. And hold. Tense the muscles at the base of the spine. And inhale. And hold. And release. And we begin bumblebee breath one last time. at your own pace. One last breath. Return to natural breathing. And to seal this meditation with more touch, bring your palms together with great attention and open your eyes with Namaste. Namaste. Blessings, my friends.